is Laura Baker. I work as a research scientist in the meteorology department at the University of Reading. My main research interest is into storms. I study storms because I've always been interested in the weather, and storms produce some of the most extreme weather that we see. The work I do aims to improve our ability to predict storms and to provide better forecasts of them. There are two main types of storms. The first is tropical cyclones, so these tend to affect areas nearer to the equator, and there are two different types of these. So the first is hurricanes, which occur in the Atlantic Ocean, and the second is typhoons, which occur in the Pacific Ocean. The second category of storms is extratropical cyclones, and these are the ones that occur generally further north and affect the UK and Europe. There are two ways that I study storms. The first is using computer models to simulate storms, and the second is using observational flights. The observational flights can measure the very small scale details within a storm, and these small details feed into the model simulation. So the computer model can then produce a three-dimensional picture of the whole storm. For an observational flight, we use a specially designed research aircraft. On the outside, it looks really like a normal passenger aircraft. But when you go inside, you can see that most of the seats have been removed and replaced with specially designed equipment. Once the plane is taken off, it flies through a storm and takes measurements of things like pressure, temperature, and wind speed. The most extreme storm I've flown through was one last winter, which was a severe windstorm over Scotland. It was actually one of the most severe storms they've had in the last 10 years. And because it was so strong, most of the Scottish airports were closed and most of the commercial flights were cancelled on that day. We started our flight in Exeter, which is in the south of England. And even though that's quite far away from Scotland, the winds were already very strong when we took off. As we flew further north towards Scotland, the winds became stronger. Because the aim of our flight was to measure the very strong winds, we flew at low levels through the regions with the strongest winds, and this meant that it was very bumpy and quite scary at times, and I felt a bit sick. The atmosphere is a very complex system. We know that climate change is causing the global temperature to increase, but what we don't know is exactly how this will affect weather patterns in the future. There is some evidence that suggests that in the future we might see more severe storms and in particular more heavy rainfall, but there is still a lot of research going on in this area.